I'm Sarah Woodbury, and today we are talking about the release of my new book, The Honorable Traitor, the 15th Gareth and Gwen medieval mystery.
15.
15.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
We've come quite a long way with them.
We have. So why don't we start off by you giving us the elevator pitch for your book?
Okay. The book is set in 1150 in Holywell, which is in eastern Wales, northeastern Wales, around an ongoing conflict between, on one hand, King Owain Gwynedd, and on the other, Ranulph, the Earl of Chester, and King Madog of Powys. And we have a couple of bodies and some intrigue and spies.
Well,
and
obviously
espionage.
it's a mystery, right?
Yes, it's a mystery. The thing I love about Gareth and Gwen and these mysteries, as in addition to just the characters who have become sort of family to me, is placing these mysteries into this broader sweep of history. So I love history. I always have loved history. And I love the part where I can take an event like this book deals with, the conflicts, the spying, the murders, and shape a story around it that I hope is highly entertaining. But also, it's like this is part of real history. A lot of the events in this book, many of them really happened.
Yes.
And I get really excited about that.
I went to your Facebook group, which, in case you don't know, as YouTube viewers, Sarah has a pretty active Facebook group that's just for fun and mostly talks about her books. And I asked them if they had questions for you. How do you come up with the plots for G&G mysteries? Is there anything other than just pure imagination, or what helps you to come up with them?
Well, as I said, the history. Once I know that an event took place, then I start thinking about a way to shape a mystery around that event. And so, for example, in the previous book, The Faithless Fool, which took place in Carlisle, around the event which was the knighting of Prince Henry, Empress Maud's son, by his great-uncle, King David of Scotland. And once I knew that had happened, I'm like, oh man, Gareth and Gwen have got to be there. And so in this case, this event is back in Wales. This conflict is real. And to a certain event, once I put all those players in a room together, in a way, the story writes itself.
So I guess we could all do this. Just put the players together and let the story write itself. Do you use any special software writing your books? And how do you keep track of the chronology, the histories, as well as the story? And there was a second question: how do you keep the timelines and characters straight, and especially the genealogies?
The special software I use is Microsoft Word. And even if I have at times been frustrated about Microsoft Word, I still use it because I am a linear thinker. I start at the beginning and I write. And various software platforms allow you to do a chapter and allows you to mix up the chapters. And I just start at the beginning and I write to the end, and then I go back to the beginning and do it like this. And when I have to, maybe a chapter is coming in the wrong place, I want to move it forward or back, I just literally cut and paste and move it.
So how do you keep track of the genealogies and the timelines and everything?
So I have, for this series, I have documents where I put in a series of historical events. So I'll just literally cut and paste from the internet, like these things are happening. I'll write an outline. I have charts of all of my major characters, what they look like, what books they've been in, when they were born, these kinds of things. Again, it's all very linear. Now with After Chimeri series, which is my other series, which I don't want to talk about too much today, we actually created a companion book with a lot of that information in it. And a database that went along with it. I haven't done that for the Gareth and Gwens. A lot of it truly I just keep in my head because in part I've written enough books now that it's just second nature in a way.
Well, and having traveled with you in Wales and England and Scotland and France, the amount that you actually have floating around in your head that you can put your finger on it at any one given moment is just shocking to me. I don't know how you keep track, and we'll see an interpretive sign somewhere, and you'll start going off on the lineage of the people that are mentioned in the interpretive sign. And it's super fun for me, to get to learn all this context, but I don't know how you do it, honestly. What sources do you use to get ideas and research history?
Right. So because I have written upwards of close to 50 novels set in medieval Wales, I do have this pool of knowledge that I just retain about when things happen and what the histories are. But every single book I'm doing research as I'm writing. And a lot of that is internet, and a lot of that is books that I have collected over time, which sometimes can just give you that little bit more detail than you will find off Wikipedia or something like that. And
do you have examples of some of the books you've collected?
So, I just bought one actually, and it was about the rulers of Wales from 1069 to 1404 or something like that, which basically covers Griffith ap Llywelyn through Owain Glyndŵr. And it's out of print. I picked it up cheap as a paperback. It's not, but it was like, I need this book because I have some very specific questions that I'm not finding answers to. And maybe I don't get the answers there either, and sometimes then I just have to make stuff up. But I do try to be, particularly with the Gareth and Gwens, as historically accurate as I can possibly be. And that means delving into what I call rabbit holes sometimes. Just going down and spending an hour and a half on one little sentence in a book, just because I'm so determined to get it right.
That actually ties in nicely with the next question, which is, what helps you decide whether to write within an accurate timeline, which, like similar to Gareth and Gwen and the Welsh Guard mysteries, as opposed to alternate timeline in fantasy, like in the After Kill Mary series?
I like both. So with the 5 series that I have the 2 mysteries, which are accurate timelines, as accurate as I can make them, and then I have these 3 others: the After Kill Mary series, the Last Pendragon saga, and the Line of Wales series, which are again as historically accurate as I can make them within the context of being fantasy. I honestly enjoy both, and I write these three series. 2 of those series are finished, but the 3 ongoing series I have, which are the 2 mysteries and then the After Kill Mary series, it's like a palate cleanser for me, and where even if in the fantasy series we're in 1295 and it's an alternate universe, I'm still working on the history. I'm still throwing in stuff. I'm still doing all that research. But the twist is different. And I honestly I'm fortunate enough to be able to write what I want. And sometimes that's a mystery and that's historically accurate. And sometimes it's a fantasy book that is somewhat less so.
Okay, this is a long and complicated question, and since I'm not very smart and not a good reader, we're going to try to get through it. Do you ever anticipate a G&G mystery where they are more in the background and say Dai, Shelo, or Gwalchmai, or Mary, or similar to the Godfred,
right.
Might be more central to the story? And it says, we certainly had a taste of these
right.
Previously, and wonder if you're ever think about changing the point of view significantly.
That's probably a hard yes. I can see that happening.
Yes.
And for example, when the Honorable Traitor comes out, you will be able to see that I do have multiple viewpoints. It is still predominantly Gareth and Gwen. I do enjoy mixing it up as well, in the same way that I'll write fantasy at times and I like the mysteries at times. It's just fun to do something a little different and to keep it fresh, not only for me but for the reader as well, which is why I had such fun with the 2 mysteries that Godfred was heavily involved in a couple of books ago. And I can completely see doing that again.
Well, and you've done that in your other series as well.
Yes, I've done that in my other series
and
as
it's
well.
always a little bit of a risk.
Yeah. Because what you'll get is the response will be, I miss Gareth and Gwen. Where is Gareth and Gwen?
Yeah.
And I will say they're coming back. They're taking what did I do? I said in the Godfred one, they were on parental leave.
Yes.
But, along the same lines, when I say it's the Gareth and Gwen medieval mysteries and then say it was about Sheila or Dai as the primary character, that is, as you say, a risk.
Observing from the outside, what I see is if you come up with a story that you think is interesting, you will tell that story regardless of whether or not it fits sort of the traditional marketing
Right.
tropes.
And part of that is my pledge to myself and to my readers that I will never write a book just to write a book. And so if Godfred is speaking to me, then I will write about Godfred. And hopefully people will be happy to come along with me.
Do you, and this is back to the research actually, do you do specific subject research like clothing, food, drinks, religion, weapons, etc.? And do you make specific lists for different time periods that you're working in?
All right. So the other aspect of that research is that I heavily use bookmarks. And so if you were to go to Google Chrome, let's say, which is what I primarily use, up at the top there's a bookmarks bar, and I have thousands of bookmarks all sorted by category. Religion, Wales, England, Scotland, clothing, itineraries, it's like everything under the sun, moon, phases of the moon in 1217, like that kind of thing, literally. Yeah. And so when I know that because I can never remember, for example, Gareth and Gwen often are involved at monasteries. And so there's the liturgy of the hours, the holy offices. Can never remember the order or what time. And so I have a bookmark for that. And I go, and it's a website. It's very reliable. It's always the same. It tells me what they are and when they were. That kind of thing. And so I also have book-specific folders. So for this book, in fact, Gareth and Gwen 15, I have all the research bookmarked for this book in a folder in Google Chrome.
This book took longer to write than many of your others. I mean, so when was your last book released? May. So it's
7
been
months.
7 months. And usually, 4 to 6 months is...
Yeah, it's been 4 a lot. And this book actually took 9 months to write.
Yes. And so what was the struggle with this book? Why did it take so much longer to write? Do you know?
I said earlier that how sometimes the plot just writes itself. Mm-hmm. And the plot that initially wrote itself was not the plot that I ended up writing. And there was a lot of revisions. And, I think I love every book that I write in the end, but some books are more of a struggle than others. And my hope is that you can't actually tell once you get to, once the final product is there, and particularly, the last couple of months of the last edits have been great. But certainly I think that this book was harder to tell and craft in a fashion that made sense. And that may be in part because the history is so complicated, and I was striving to incorporate it properly, sufficiently. And that just added to the task. Some books are easier than others. Just the way it goes. Yeah.
So is there anything you want to tell the potential readers about this book that you think might get them excited about it? Or, obviously you just want them to buy it. You don't care if they like it or not. You just want the money.
Like it. The fun thing about writing the Gareth and Gwen medieval mysteries, as I said, is that the history... It brings the history to life. When growing up, historical fiction was what I read the most. Both of my parents were historians. And I remember being in high school and hiding in a bathroom stall and overhearing these two girls talking about their history class. And the conclusion they both drew was, I hate history. And I remember sitting there, hiding, thinking, how is that even possible? Clearly it wasn't taught very well in my high school. But for me, bringing history to life is something that I so enjoy sharing with my readers. And particularly for the Gareth and Gwens and for this particular incident in 1150, something that I think is pretty obscure, but also pretty exciting once you know like what really happened. And I'm really looking forward to sharing it with all of you. The Honorable Traitor releases on Christmas Day, December 25th, 2022. It is available at all retailers worldwide in ebook and paperback, coming soon to hardback and audio. If you like this video, click on the playlist or subscribe to my channel. There'll be a new video next week. And if you want to check out my books, click on the link to my webpage.